Please remain standing. For those of you who are sitting, could you please stand for the land acknowledgement? The Ramaytush Ohlone people are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, the San Francisco Peninsula, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ramaytush Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Thank you. You may be seated. This is not in my script, but wow. What an amazing sight this is. Chancellor Hoggett, distinguished members of the Platform Party, graduates, family, and friends, both here in person and on live stream, good morning and welcome to the 2022 UCSF Graduate Division Commencement Ceremony. This is our first in-person commencement ceremony since 2019, and I think we can all agree that that is something to celebrate. You're going to be doing a lot of that today. I want to thank the members of the UCSF leadership team who are in attendance today and have joined us on the platform. As I introduce each member, I ask that you stand to be acknowledged, and I'm going to ask the audience to hold your applause until all the leaders have been introduced. This never works, but we'll see. Chancellor Sam Hoggett, Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost Dan Lowenstein, Dean of the School of Dentistry, Michael Reddy, Dean of the School of Medicine, Talmadge King. Interim Dean of the School of Pharmacy, Thomas Kearney. Associate Dean of Graduate Programs in the Graduate Division, Liz Silva. Assistant Dean for Diversity and Learner Success in the Graduate Division, Dean Duncan. And President-elect of the Graduate Division's Alumni Association, Carla Washington. And now, let's give them applause. Today we gather to celebrate 133, I think we may be at 132, I think we lost one this morning, of UCSF's newest alumni who were able to join us in person to receive their master's and doctoral degrees. Allow me to share with you some interesting facts about this class. 10% of this class, this graduating class, are the first in their families to attain a college degree. Why don't you stand up? Why don't you stand up? For all my first-gen students, please stand up. Thank you. Yes. Yes. 20% of the graduating class are the first in their families to receive a graduate degree. Can you please stand up? % of these young people are international students, representing, there you go, there you go. They are represented 24 countries, including Canada, Ethiopia, Spain, Taiwan, Liberia, England, and Mexico. One-third of our graduates were born right here in the state of California. Where are you? Let's see you. There you go. And one-third, listen to this, one-third are from 39 other states in the Union. Isn't that amazing? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you UCSF's Graduate Division's graduating class of 2022. Graduates, you've been at UCSF at both an exciting and a challenging time in our country's history. But today, if you had any doubts before, today you leave knowing that you're adaptable, resilient, persistent, and now the sky is your limit. I want you to just pause for a moment and think about your journey to this place, to this specific moment in time. I want you to pause and ruminate about the days when you wondered if you would ever reach to this milestone. I want you to pause and think about the special people in your lives that supported you, many of them in this room, or are on live stream witnessing this momentous occasion. I want you to pause for just one moment. And then I want you to just celebrate for just a minute. Congratulations, you have made it. So since last Thursday, over the next 3 weeks or so, UCSF will host similar gatherings to this one, celebrating the latest graduates of our medical, dental, pharmacy schools, as well as the physical therapy program. Taking nothing away from the phenomenal accomplishments of those graduates in our schools, I want to take a moment to just appreciate how very different the journey of a graduate student is. How many of you have had your parents or partners or families ask, what is it that you do again? Yes. How many of you have heard them say, when are you going to get a real job? Yes. So allow me to just take a minute to help unpack some of that. Graduate students matriculate into our programs young or young at heart, excited, eager, and filled with curiosity. For many of them, this journey begins as an apprentice, diligently learning from a dedicated faculty member. In all cases, however, the student quickly arrives at a place where it is the student, your graduate, who is forging symbiotic relationships and generating novel solutions to some of the most vexing problems in health, dentistry, public policy, and other areas. In these endeavors, they build their own roadmap, testing their ability to identify creative ways to uncover new knowledge. It is the spirit of exploration and unrelenting curiosity that contributes to the richness of the research enterprise here at UCSF and makes UCSF a perpetual hub for discovery. Graduates, thank you. This class has the distinction of engaging in research ranging from understanding the veterans' healthcare system to developing therapeutic and pharmacological tools to treat diseases like Parkinson and cancer, to examine the sociological and structural roots of health inequality, to redesigning redesigning clinical care settings. And as if that journey did not consume enough of their bandwidth, these specific graduates, are deeply committed to affecting change within our community. Members of this graduating class have advocated for institutional change and increased educational access through engagement, and in doing so, precipitated changes in our graduate admissions practices. They have created opportunities for student veterans to have community here at UCSF. They have uplifted the voices and experiences of members of historically marginalized communities in science through student-centered advocacy efforts like the Repair Project, a 3-year strategic initiative designed to address anti-Black racism and augment the voices and presence of Black, Indigenous people of color in science, medicine, and healthcare. The accomplishments of our graduates would not occur without the support, guidance, collaboration, and allyship of our faculty mentors. It is their passion for science, their love for teaching, their tireless oversight of these graduates that makes today possible. Please join me in recognizing the faculty mentors. Will you all please stand? Please join me in recognizing the faculty mentors of our graduates. Thank you. Because of the importance of our faculty mentors, each year during commencement, the Graduate Division Student Government presents the Outstanding Faculty Mentor Award to a faculty member who not only instructs, but also mentors, inspires, nurtures, and guides students along the trajectory of their careers. It is my pleasure to introduce Hannah Lamming, a graduate student in the Masters of Advanced Study program, who will present the 2022 Outstanding Faculty Mentor Award on behalf of the Associated Students of the Graduate Division and the Graduate Division Alumni Association. Hannah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah, and this morning I have the pleasure and privilege of awarding Dr. Mercedes Paredes, an associate professor in the Department of Neurology, with the UCSF Graduate Division Outstanding Mentorship Award. I have been working under Mercedes' guidance for approximately 1 year, and I can tell you that I am a much better researcher for it. She and I met during the summer after my first year of my master's program, when I was looking for another angle to explore developmental neuroscience research from, in addition to the clinical research lens that I was looking through as part of my master's. Since then, she has gone above and beyond to ensure that I feel comfortable and welcome within her lab. During our check-in meetings, we spend equally as much time talking about the science as we do about my mental and physical health. She sees each one of us scientists on her team as a person who, yes, is dedicated to discovering the mechanisms of human development, but who also has a family, friends, extracurricular activities, and other priorities beyond those in lab. She has always encouraged me to find balance in my life, and she was actually excited for me when I started taking a break midday to go to the UCSF gym with one of the other graduate students rotating in her lab. And speaking of graduate students, she will be taking on 4 new students this year because everyone who rotated in her lab couldn't stand the thought of not coming back. All of this to say, she is exceptionally generous with her time and energy and has cultivated an environment within lab that is both fun and rigorous. When I gushed to our other lab members that I had nominated Mercedes for the award and she got accepted, everyone responded, well, of course, she deserves it. And you do, Mercedes. Thank you for the scientist that you've helped shape me into, and congratulations on this much-deserved honor.
Wow, I'm left speechless, but I do have something to say. But off script, I do feel like I'm at a rock concert, having met some of my stars, Dr. Blake, Dr. Desai, Dr. Duncan, among many. So this is such a privilege to be on stage with them, and such a privilege and honor to be, even considered and thought about in this fashion by the graduate students. And I'm really honored to share some thoughts with you. But firstly, I just want to congratulate you, the students, and the families. This is your day. The reason we're gathered here is because of your accomplishments. And I'm so thrilled that this is in person, that we can look each other, at least in the eyes, and say, good for you, and kudos. So congratulations, first of all. So when I received the message about today's commencement and award, I actually misread the email. I thought it was a nomination form. And I immediately thought, great, I got to put something out. For those who know me, I'd like to put and write a lot and bother people a lot. Let's nominate, let's do this. And several names came to mind. I thought about Anita Sill. I thought about Todd Nystell, about Lisa Ganaiden, among many. The individuals who take their leadership roles in science and in the graduate division as a responsibility and as a duty to really foster and help grow the future scientists that we have been honored and treasured with to help develop in their career path. I even thought about some of the first mentors in my life, my mother, my sister, my uncle. Those who first taught me be creative means being tough, being creative is a challenge, and being creative is fun. It wasn't about science, it was about wanting to answer questions the way that you knew how. They told me science was my direction, but they say discovery is everywhere, and don't lose that. I didn't think the GME would take their name, so I kind of took them off the list. And then I realized, as I was reading the mail again, I'm like, oh, I understand now. This was a nomination. And I was both shocked, and chills and anxiety started to enter my mind. And I got flashbacks of my own graduate experience. I immediately thought about all the anxiety I had. I immediately thought about being alone, about the fear of failing, and that belief that at that time I felt was knowledge, that I didn't belong. This wasn't for me. Now I know that that's imposter syndrome. But back then, and I'm not going to age myself, it was just pure fear and anxiety. But I'm here, so somehow I made it through. What got me through? It was the mentors in my life, ones who I'm deeply grateful for. It was the peer mentors, the SRA in the neighboring lab, a fellow Latina who understood and knew that we were unicorns at the wet lab area. We were proud of it. She also got that Shakira's circa 1990s was the best music. So we understood each other in that way. You? There were the faculty at the time. And I throw out there several names, but I'm just going to do a shout out to Sam Pleasure, my own PhD mentor, in addition to others, who just let me be me and gave me the space and the freedom to grow. I think about an Oprah Winfrey interview. And yes, when I think of Sam, I often think of Oprah Winfrey. They're very similar, and I love that about them both. She had an interview with beloved author and an inspiring person for me, Toni Morrison. And they had talked a lot about how to uplift and raise people. And Dr. Morrison offered this thought. When a child walks into a room, any child, do your eyes light up? That's what they're looking for. As a graduate student, that is what I wanted. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be listened with respect, even when my ideas were maybe not on par, or maybe they were, and we were thinking differently. Those were times when status, hierarchy, and subtle differences sometimes wanted to silence me. And it was the mentors who offered both acknowledgement that I could be there, but also the tools and the growing confidence that the barriers that were limiting me were things that we could break down together. I try to copy those great mentors from my journey, and I try to cover the gaps that I experienced through that time when I was in your seat. I often fail, but I often think this is worth it, and it's you, the students, that remind me and inspire me to keep on this track. So today, it's now your turn to take that leap. Be proud. You earned these amazing degrees for your discoveries, for all the sweat, for all those sleepless nights. But I challenge you, and I ask you, I encourage you to also see this as a beginning. You are now taking on that baton. You are now wearing not just the robe of your degree, but the mantle of mentoring. Many of you are probably already doing it, or have done it throughout this journey, mentoring peers, mentoring the younger students, the new trainees in the lab, or in your research groups. And you also teach us, the faculty. I know I've learned a lot from many of you. So as you go on now, as you move on to those next roles, the postdocs, the entrepreneurs, the teachers, the critical thinkers, I want you to remember those who brought you to this point, copy them. I want you to remember those moments that felt like they were stopping you from reaching this point. Those are as useful too, because together they'll make you a builder, a bridge maker, and the mentor that helped you get here. I want to leave you with this final message from Dr. Morrison. As you can tell, I love her reading. When you get these jobs that you've been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that you are free. And now you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. I wish you all the best. Hannah, I wish you all the best. Congratulations, and as you move forward, empower. Thank you very much.
Well, we could just go home now. Thank you very much, Dr. Paredes. Appreciate, and I'm sure the graduates appreciate that warm word. And I, too, am a fan of Toni Morrison. Like her readings. All right. It is my pleasure to introduce the 2022 commencement speaker, Dr. Tejal Desai. Dr. Desai is the Deborah Cohen Endowed Professor of Bioengineering and Therapeutic Sciences at UCSF and Professor in Residence of Bioengineering at UC Berkeley. She serves as the director of the National Institute of Health Training Grant for the joint UCSF-UC Berkeley graduate program in bioengineering and is the founding director of the UCSF-UC Berkeley master's program in translational medicine. Dr. Desai research spans multiple disciplines, including materials engineering, cell biology, tissue engineering, and pharmacological delivery systems. She has published over 250 peer-reviewed articles and patents. Technology Review named Dr. Desai one of its top 100 young innovators. But even better, Popular Science named her one of its brilliant 10. Yeah. She currently serves as president of the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering and and elected member of both the National Academy of Medicine and the National Academy of Inventors. Dr. Desai is a vocal advocate for STEM education and outreach to women and historically marginalized students. She serves as the university's Differences Matter Executive Committee, and her work to break down institutional barriers to equity and cultivate a climate of inclusion earned her the UCSF Chancellor's Award for the Advancement of Women. Sadly, but happily, beginning later this year in September, Dr. Desai embarks on the next phase of her career as Dean of Brown University School of Engineering. Please help me congratulate Dr. Desai. And welcome.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dean Blake, for that very amazing introduction. And thank you to Chancellor Hawgood, as well as the rest of the amazing faculty and leadership team here at UCSF. And a special thank you to the family, friends, parents, grandparents of the UCSF class of 2022. Congratulations to everyone. It is truly an honor to stand here before you and celebrate your remarkable accomplishments and your next chapter. In fact, it was 24 years ago that I was sitting in the same place you were, except in Millbury Union, and I was wondering what the future held. And for sure, it did not hold that I would be standing up here today. So thank you for this opportunity. Class of 2022, you are a UCSF class unlike any before. You know, you've persevered through 2+ years of a pandemic, but you've also led our efforts to address issues like systemic racism, scientific distrust, global inequality, and increasing limits on reproductive rights. And you are also a class that has demonstrated the profound impact that science, technology, policy, and education can have in shaping our society. So today, I want to spend a few moments talking about pushing boundaries. But what do I mean about pushing boundaries? And why should they be pushed? As an engineer, I was taught that to push means to exert pressure. Pressure to push something away or move it out of your way. And a boundary was known as an imposed barrier, something that could limit progress, one that can be either physical or abstract. I also learned in my engineering classes that it is often along these small, microscopic boundaries in materials that cracks can propagate and the system can get stressed, leading to failure. So how can we push through barriers, but not so hard that we break? How can we overcome imposed barriers that limit our potential? As an undergrad, I studied biomedical engineering. This was a new field in the 1990s. Very few places even offered it. The idea of bringing together engineering with biology and medicine, this captured my imagination. I was excited about breaking down the walls between these disciplines and what we could discover if we brought fields together and moved past traditional boundaries. When I came to the UCSF Berkeley Bioengineering Graduate Program, I ended up working with a professor in civil and mechanical engineering. In fact, my qualifying exam committee members and my academic advisors thought I was crazy. They questioned my choice of joining a lab that had never done biology or bioengineering. Well, my PI was interested in microstructures, small microscopic materials. And I was interested in how could we deliver medicine to the body? And together we wondered what could happen if you could bring small-scale materials together with living cells. I remember trying to build a tissue culture room in the basement of the civil engineering building at Berkeley. Outside, a very poorly ventilated room were earthquake engineers putting down hammers to look at concrete and the failure modes. But of course, while they were doing that, bits of concrete dust flowed into the ventilation system, leading to my biohood. And for months and months and months, everything died, and I had no idea why. When I finally figured it out, that was good, and I had to move to another building. But what I realized was something that was serendipitous. In fact, cells interacting with these microscopic materials had some very unique properties. And when I looked through the microscope to see my now living cells interacting with silicon microstructures, I knew we had something. And this led to the development of implants that we now use in the body that can target very small living organisms, and a new field called biomedical micro and nanotechnology. Many years later, it was this disruption of scientific boundaries that also brought me back to UCSF. I was actually a professor of bioengineering on the East Coast, and one of my mentors, the importance of mentors, from UCSF, Dr. Sarah Nelson, asked whether I might be interested in helping to build something at UCSF, to bring the fields of engineering, biology, and medicine, as well as pharmacy, back together again. It was my chance to use my engineering background to not just build miniature devices, but also build a new community. And through the years, together with all of you, we have crossed not just research boundaries, but also educational boundaries, gaining both technical depth, but also societal perspective, and understanding that what we discover, create, invent, can lead to profound changes in how we live our lives. Some of you who have combined immunology and synthetic biology to develop new cell therapies. Others have brought together computational methods with biochemistry to understand and unlock protein structure. Some have worked with community leaders to better understand healthcare disparities in our neighborhoods. And yet others have learned the engineering, clinical, and entrepreneurial aspects of translating medical innovation into clinical reality. But most importantly, it was you, the class of 2022, who broke down scientific boundaries to do something no one else had ever done. And you did not stop at the boundaries of existing knowledge. You sought to address the challenges yet unseen. And it is for your resolve to push this scientific boundary that makes me excited for the future. But there are also more abstract boundaries that have been encountered throughout my career. A boundary that, as an Asian American woman, I did not think I could cross. A boundary, or several, that often made me feel like I did not belong, amplified by a lack of female engineering professors and almost no faculty from historically underrepresented groups throughout my entire undergrad or graduate career. Well, class of 2022, you have the power to change that. And as a graduate student in the 90s, I became involved in the Triad program. This is part of the Science Education Partnership at UCSF. Every other Friday, I drove from my lab in Berkeley to San Francisco to teach science to middle school girls. And I remember one session quite vividly. We were doing liquid chromatography with tissue paper and food coloring. And one girl in my group remarked that I did not look like a scientist. I stopped the activity and probed why. The answer, as you can imagine, was not surprising. Recently, Catherine Nielsen, who's the head of our Science Education Partnership, recently showed me the application that I wrote in 1994 when I was a first-year graduate student. And I quote, "In the environment in which I work, issues of gender equity are constantly present, whether it be the obvious lack of women faculty or the often silent roles that women play in the decision-making process. I hope to teach girls at an early age, one day, before they become turned off from science." This was 30 years ago that I wrote that. And we still have work to do, but we have made remarkable progress. And I'm only here because someone took the time to encourage me to be my mentor and told me I could do it when others said I could not. And because of that, I have realized that we all have a responsibility to redefine and ultimately reshape the boundaries that limit the success of those around us. And it is this reshaping of boundaries that continues to influence me as a professor, as a mentor, and as a leader. Importantly, pushing boundaries does not have to be done in isolation. Over the years, and in particular these last 2 years, I have learned how important it is to find allies, supporters, and advocates to keep pushing those boundaries together. I witnessed how you, our students, came together to push those boundaries inside and outside of science, to speak the truth and have difficult conversations. And I have been inspired by all of you. 2 years ago, a group of UCSF women faculty started meeting on Zoom every other Thursday. The timing inspired by Ellen Daniels' book of the same name about trailblazing women scientists, including UCSF's own Carol Gross, who supported each other early in their career. Together, we realized that by coming together, we could help push those barriers and make change. Whether it was ensuring that women and scientists from historically underrepresented groups were more visible in media, or advocating for new models of childcare when schools were shut down. Together, we pushed each other to tear down, or at least move a little bit, some of the boundaries that kept individuals and communities from succeeding in science. This advocacy progressed to the national level, where groups of scientists and engineers from all backgrounds pushed the NIH to address funding disparities based on race, encouraged scientific publishers to take a look at their own biases when publishing in high-impact journals. And together, we continue to work to build a more inclusive and equitable scientific community. And it is working with students like you who are unafraid of taking on these hard challenges that continues to motivate me to push away the barriers that exist in our respective fields and ultimately reshape the limits that exist around us. And finally, like was mentioned, I am starting a new journey. leaving UCSF after 16 years to become Dean of Engineering at Brown University. Yes, I am nervous, but I'm also excited because there are more barriers to break down and boundaries to push. And as you embark on your own journey, don't be afraid to push those boundaries when necessary. Instead, use your talent together with your creativity, your curiosity, to redefine them. And as you do, there may be moments where you question your decisions or are faced with uncertainty. But always remember who you are and stay true to your values. For me, I still recall sitting in the classroom in Marina Middle School, convincing my middle school students that they too could be scientists. And that glimmer of excitement of what could be her future, the one that I had as a young girl, continues to motivate me to push those boundaries. It is a vision that I carry forward every day, and one that I hope my 3 children also see. As screenwriter and author Shonda Rhimes once said, "You can waste your time drawing lines, or you can live your life crossing them." So I leave you with this. What can be accomplished by pushing the limits, and what boundaries do you want to break next? Congratulations, class of 2022. May you always break down the boundaries that limit your potential.
Do you need any more of a challenge? All right, and now for the moment that we have all been waiting for. The degrees conferred by the University of California attest to the scholarly achievement, the traditional result of the university's fulfillment of its primary duty. In the graduate division, degrees to be conferred today are the Master of Advanced Study, the Master of Science, and the Doctor of Philosophy. First, will the candidates of the Master of Advanced Study in Clinical Research and for the Master of Science please rise? What a beautiful sight. All right. The master's degree is awarded to students who complete a well-balanced and unified program of study and research in an academic or professional field and meets the university's requirements for the degree. Recipients of the degree have mastered the subject field and are prepared to move for more advanced graduate work, research, or professional careers. I would like to invite Chancellor Hoggett to step to the podium to confer your degree.
Thank you, Dean Blake. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I confer upon you the degrees of Master of Advanced Study in Clinical Research and Master of Science. My congratulations to all of you.
Graduates, please be seated. Until your row is prompted to approach the stage. Associate Dean Liz Silva and Assistant Dean Dean Duncan will present the degrees to the candidates. I'm also going to invite Chancellor Hoggett and Provost Lowenstein to join me in congratulating the graduates.
First, we have the Master of Advanced Study in Clinical Research candidates, who will be hooded by Professor and Vice Chair, Education, Epidemiology, and Biostatistics, Dr. June Chan. Ribka Amsalu. Moses Badio. Gregory Burns. Pallavi Chowdhury. Sarah Goldberg. Chandana Galdara. Cozy Guaicolo. Hannah Hoban. Redima Jain. Kurt Arthur Johansson. Intemina Kapula. Hannah Madeline Lambing. Carmen Lee. Sujata Mather. Shailaja Srinivasan. Emily Tang. Helga Taylor. Maisie Sang. Carlos Enrique Valenci Morera. Lu Fan Wang. Fiona Shung.
The Master of Science Biomedical Engineering graduates will be hooded by Program Director Dr. Alistair Martin. Anna Bennett. Gabriella Ramil. Fatima Saeed. Anthony R. Zameri. Zhai Shosho Zhang. The Master of Science Global Health Science graduates will be hooded by Professor of Health Policy, Dr. Laura Schmidt. Gizem Alkaldiz. Alana Elop. Yasmin Faravush. Sanam Kumari. Avina Arthi Narayan. Marissa Kristen Wu.
The Master of Science Healthcare Administration and Interprofessional Leadership graduates will be hooded by Program Co-Director Marianne Hultgren. Rudy Asuncion. Bianca Bakaltos. Lily Barajas. Michelle Kai. Freddie Chow. Abraham Eugene Cicchetti. Nicola Christine Beata Biro. Monica Dieppe. Sasha Martinez. Karishma Misri. Hadley Claire Joelle Monin. Didi Poubian. Zulema Ravia Garnica. Manuel Saldivar. Jake Shores. Nina Soares. Barry David Towers. Yanira Valencia. The Master of Science Oral and Craniofacial Sciences graduate will be hooded by Graduate Dean Nikkei Blake. Zara Ali Al-Safwani.
The Master of Science Translational Medicine graduates will be hooded by Faculty Director Dr. Chavoy Roy, and Founding Director Dr. Tejal Desai. Dhruv Artri. Claire Bogosian. Cornelius Matthew Carter. Jacqueline Chuang. Arissa Chuklin. Naveen Dewan. Nya Damkem. Crystal Yitong Gong. Stephen Nicholas Greenwich. Raed Hanun. Chen Hao Henry Shu. Jessica Lucy Lee. Menyo Leo. Fiara Marin Yaguno. Alejandro Lopez Magana. John Merritt. Archana Penyamudi. Rico Ray Pesci. Taylor Pistone. Parthana Prashanth. Salim Sharaj. Nicolette Sung. Puya Tung. Maria Eleni Vari M. Bopioti.
Are you excited? Not so much for the PhD students yet? All right. Gotta find my notes. Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, please rise. The Doctor of Philosophy degree is awarded as the mark of highest achievement in preparation for active scholarship and research. Recipients of the degree have completed a rigorous course of study, demonstrated superior scholarship, and made original contributions to their chosen field of knowledge. This is the highest degree awarded by academic institution. I'm going to invite Chancellor Hoggett to confer your degree.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. My congratulations.
Graduates, please be seated again until your row is prompted to approach the stage. The graduate programs at UCSF are highly interdisciplinary. Their faculty hold departmental appointments in all UCSF's professional schools. Many of our PhD students were mentored by, collaborated with, or did rotations with professors in more than one school. They have formed scientific relationships with these faculty in addition to their dissertation advisors. In the spirit of this partnership, I would like to invite Deans King, Reddy and Interim Dean Kearney to come forward to join Chancellor Hoggett and EVCP Lowenstein in congratulating all the PhD graduates. Once more, Associate Dean Liz Silva and Assistant Dean Dean Duncan will present the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy.
First, we have our PhD candidates in biochemistry and molecular biology. Would the Hooders for the biochemistry and molecular biology program please come forward? First, we have Benjamin Barcy Rhine to be hooded by Mark von Zastro. Antonio Cuevas Navarro is to be hooded by Frank McCormick. Kelsey Marie Haas is hooded by Nikkei Blake. Connor Howard is to be hooded by Nikkei Blake. And Nairi Hartouni is to be hooded by David Morgan. We now have our PhD candidates in bioengineering. Would the hooders for the bioengineering candidates please step forward? First, we have Jake Bieber, hooded by Nikkei Blake. Next, we have Cody Kravasik to be hooded by Tejal Desai. Christopher Matthey to be hooded by Tejal Desai. Tejal's going out with a bang, y'all. Priya Mohindra to be hooded by Tejal Desai. Philip Lee to be hooded by Tejal Desai. Charles August Sherman to be hooded by Tamara Alliston. Ivana Vasic is to be hooded by Todd McDevitt. Next, we have our PhD candidate in biological and medical informatics. Would the hooder please come forward? Matthew Jones is to be hooded by Nikkei Blake. Next, we have our PhD candidates in biomedical sciences. Would our hooders please step forward? First, we have Noor Abdulhai, to be hooded by Barbara Panning. Camelia Azimi, to be hooded by Cole Roybal. Iowis Zhu is hooded by Cole Roybal. Casey Bepler is hooded by Matthew Crummell. Anthony Vanita is hooded by Rushika Parara. Benjamin Adam Catching is hooded by Raul Andino. Or Nick, oh, there you are. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is the PhD in biophysics. PhD candidates in biophysics. Hooders, please come forward. Grayson Lewis is to be hooded by Nikkei Blake. And Eric Juvenal Navarro is to be hooded by Jennifer Fung. Next, we have our PhD candidate in cell biology. Rebecca McGillivray is to be hooded by Barbara Panning. Next we have our PhD candidates in chemistry and chemical biology. Would our hooders please step forward? We have Shizhong Dai, hooded by Kayvon Shokat. Julian Anderson Harris is hooded by Ashish Manglik. And our PhD candidate in developmental and stem cell biology, Bonnie E.J. Maven, is hooded by Deepak Srivastava.
Now, our PhD candidates in epidemiology and translational science. Will the hooders for epidemiology and translational science please come to hood your graduates? Eklund Adibwahab. Chloe Ang, who will be hooded by Maria Glymore. Dan Kelly, who will be hooded by Maria Glymore. Zara Izadi, who will be hooded by Jinus Yazdani. Crystal Silva Langley, who will be hooded by June Chan. Sarah Ray Wanye, who will be hooded by Dan Kelly. Now, our PhD candidate in Global Health Sciences. Will the hooder for Global Health Sciences please come forward to hood your graduate? Andrea Pedroza Tobias, who is hooded by Laura Schmidt. Now, our PhD candidates in History of Health Sciences. Will the hooders of History of Health Sciences please come forward to hood your graduates? Aaron James Jackson, who's hooded by Amy Medeiros. Antoine Johnson, who is hooded by Amy Medeiros. Now, our PhD candidate in medical anthropology. Will the hooder for medical anthropology please come forward to hood your graduate? Carlos Martinez, hooded by Seth Holmes. Now our PhD candidates in neuroscience. Will the hooders for neuroscience please come forward to hood your graduates? Zach Dorick, hooded by Ken Nakamura. Bridget Lucas Kaish, who is hooded by Noelle Letoile. Adrian Loki, who is hooded by Noel Letoile. John Webb, hooded by Ying-Wei Fu. Now our PhD candidates in oral and craniofacial sciences. Will the hooders for oral and craniofacial sciences please come forward to hood your graduates? Na Yuan Nicholas Chang, Cynthia Lee Darling. Tran H. Dun, hooded by Noel Letoile. Now our PhD candidates in pharmaceutical sciences and pharmacogenomics. Will the hooders for PSPG please come forward to hood your graduates? Dina Buitrago Silva, hooded by Kathy Giacomini. Megan Koleski, hooded by Kathy Giacomini. Anna Marie Bushchin, hooded by Catherine Pollard. Michaela Noel Richter, hooded by Faranak Fatahi. Now our PhD candidate in rehabilitation science. Will the hooder for rehabilitation science please come forward? Alyssa Bird, hooded by Richard Souza. And last but certainly not least, our PhD candidate in sociology. Will the hooder for sociology please come forward to hood your graduate? And you're already here, you ready? Megan Ruth Weiser, hooded by Howard Pinderhughes.
Well, can we just take a moment to congratulate all of these wonderful graduates? Yep, I think I'm feeling all the love in the room right now. Awesome. Before we close the ceremony, I'd like to remind you of a few things. First of all, graduates, when you share your photos for today's event on social media, please use the hashtag UCSFgrads so that everyone can find you easily and enjoy them. On behalf of Carla Washington, President-elect of the Graduate Division Alumni Association, who is, of course, with us today, we encourage you to be active participants in the Graduate Division Alumni Association. Now, what I didn't tell you earlier is that I am a brand new dean. So I haven't had a lot of chance to interact with our graduates, so I look forward to seeing you as alumni. Thank you to the Alumni Association. They're starting it off right. They're going to give you a gift as you walk out the door, just to remember them. There you go. This event was planned and executed by a host of volunteers who we need to thank and appreciate. First of all, our sincere appreciation to Shelley, Jen, Paige, and all the Kennedy event staff for their hard work in coordinating this amazing event. Join me in saying thanks. Thank you to Eric Rotman and Mary Bradley from the Graduate Division for their labor of love in ensuring all the details of this event were flawless. Thank you, Mary and Eric. Thank you to Matt and Isaac from our Educational Technology Group, without whom you wouldn't even be able to hear me. So thank you, Eric and Matt. And finally, for the host of volunteers who showed up today to ensure that this day was special for each of you, thank you. All right, we have just one more thing to go. I know you're ready to go. But graduates, can you do me a favor and stand, please? All right, all right, all right. And then graduates, I need you to turn around and face your village. All right, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We have one more. No, stay in that position. So now that you have been officially conferred degrees of masters and doctors, I think it would be appropriate for your very first action to be one of thanks to your village, your family, friends, mentors, without whose support you would not be here today. Graduates, can you appreciate them right now? Okay, that doesn't sound like you really appreciate them. Can you really appreciate them right now? Yes. Excellent. Chancellor Hoggett, you can turn around, thank you. And you can sit. Thank you. Chancellor Hoggett, distinguished members of the Platform Party, graduates, family, friends in person and on live stream, this concludes the 2022 commencement for the Graduate Division. Members of the audience, please remain seated until the Platform Party and the graduates have exited the auditorium. Thank you, and please celebrate with gusto today.